Make sure we are all... Is that light a bit too bright for you, Mr. Smith?
It's all right.
Welcome. It's nice to actually see you in the flesh. We've been doing some bits and pieces online, but we are here at the press conference for Gill VS Barrett this coming weekend. How are you?
I'm good. Every day I look at the weather and it determines the mood. And it's sunny, so,
For now, Manchester's a bit iffy.
It was raining yesterday. So I was a bit grumpy, but I'm happy today.
How's the jet lag as well? Because obviously you've just come back over from the States.
All right, I don't really get it anymore, to be honest. No, I just sleep whenever I feel tired. So I could just fall asleep here at any point of the day.
I'll do my best to keep you awake. I've got to start this off on a positive, and I'll end it on a positive as well. But absolutely fantastic signing, Jaron Ennis. Absolutely brilliant.
Unbelievable. Huge signing. Everyone wants Jaron Ennis' signature. We got it. Tremendous work by the team. Sean, obviously Eddie and Sean worked very closely on it to put it together, and Kevin as well in our team. So tremendous work from those guys to get it over the line. Massive signing for us. We've been lucky enough to work with some amazing fighters over the years. Recent years, even before that, before I was involved. But this feels special, and he's never really had the backing to match his skill set and his ability, and he's not what he should be in terms of his commercial star power. But even yesterday you saw, even though he's not in where he should be, how big the announcement was, how it felt, the excitement around it. So it just shows there's a massive market out there for him, and now we've got to take him to the next level. We've got to keep him active, got to get him fighting, get busy, and that's what he's missed in his career. And at the same time promote him properly, and that's what we're here to do.
When you get negotiations for American fighters, I get it, there may be a firewall around some of the fighters, a bit of red tape, a bit of bureaucracy. How do you attract the American fighters to want to sign with Matchroom? What is that carrot that you dangle in front of them? Forget the money, but what do you offer that fighter for their career while they'll actually say, you know what, okay, let's do this? You've recently signed Andy Cruz, Subaru Matthias. It's over that side again. What is it that is attracting these fighters to Matchroom?
Because I think we're a global brand in the sport now, and we've shown in the US. Look, when we went into the US early doors, I can understand people saying, what do they know about US boxing? We started with Daniel Jacobs and then signed the huge deal with DAZN. But we've proven what we can do. We've proven what we can deliver. Hence why we work with the likes of Canelo Alvarez, probably the biggest star in the sport. We did 7 or 8 of his fights, promoted his fights, because he trusts in what we can do, in what we can create. And look, he's a huge star. He's put himself in that position. But he wouldn't come to us if he didn't see something there. I think in reality as well, a lot of American promoters don't promote, is my opinion. They're not promoters. They put on shows, they get a TV deal, and they don't actually build anything. And a lot of people are guilty of that. It's just go and make a little bit of money, and it's very short-term mentality. Eddie is one of the only current day proper promoters out there who gets out there and shouts from the rooftops, and that's what you need. That's what certain fighters need. Some have already built themselves and put themselves in a position, but someone like Jaron Ennis, that's what he needs. And I think you only have to look at what we're doing on a global scale and want to be a part of it, because no one else is doing it like we're doing it.
When we look at strategy, like you said, and I do agree with you that you seem to have more of a long-term vision for your fighters. You will look at the road ahead and think about potential obstacles, etc. What are you going to do with Jaron? Because a lot of people are echoing now, all right then, Conor Benn, a potential, and I mean this in no disrespectful way, I'll speak from the voices of the fans, that it could be a potential cash-out fight for Benn. Your thoughts on that and the public opinion on that? Albeit small, it's still an opinion.
Yeah, look, Conor Benn's a fighter who would fight anyone. I'm not sitting here today and say Jaron Ennis necessarily is the perfect fight for him next, but he would fight anyone. Like a lot of fighters we represent, they will go in against any challenge. That's our job, to manage at the right time for the right fights. When it comes to Jaron Ennis himself, we need to keep him active. We need to keep him busy and get him, because that's what he's missed. That's what he's lacked. And, he's going to have, I think there's some IBF mandatory that you've got to work through. But then from there, he wants the biggest fights possible. He's been talking about Terence Crawford a lot. That's a huge fight. So, it's not, we didn't sign Jaron Ennis to do the Conor Benn fight, if you get what I mean. It wasn't it's every individual career has got their own trajectory and path. If they come together, if they make sense at the right time, we'll do it. But right now, we've got to focus on what we need to do for Jaron Ennis, and that's to build a superstar.
When we look at the scale of the PBC and maybe some of the fighters looking to change their career path as regards to management and promotional companies, you mentioned Terence Crawford there. Would Terence Crawford be a fighter that Matchroom would be interested in signing as well? I mean, the fight to make in-house, is that something you've considered or thought about?
Terence Crawford's a tremendous fighter, and I'm sure everyone would want to promote Terence Crawford. So if there's ever an opportunity to do something there, 100%. We want to work with the best fighters in the world. We've shown that. We worked with Terence multiple occasions in other fights as well, when he was with Top Rank especially. So yeah, 1,000,000% that's something we'd look at. It's a great time for boxing, for global boxing. It's a great time. The fighters are in a great position. So yeah, 1,000,000% if there's ever opportunities, we'll be there.
The vacuum that seems to be in boxing in America at the moment in regards to promotional companies, Matchroom, you got in there a few years ago, like you said, when you signed up with DAZN. I think I've seen a few conversations where Eddie sort of predicted that this was going to happen in relation to, the fallout. Now that you see that coming into place, what other fighters are on the horizon to coming on board with yourselves? I know you can't maybe give us direct names, but the net's far and the net's wide.
We want to work with every great fighter out there. We're doing nearly 40 shows a year around the world. Our focus is to keep build the best possible stable. But at the same time, we want to deliver great fights. And sometimes signing long-term deals with fighters doesn't always deliver great fights. And sometimes it's about putting on the best possible fights, whether that's one fight, one-offs, etc. Because that's what's going to grow the sport of boxing longer term. But yeah, we're interested in anyone who's free and clear, who's a great fighter and can put on the best possible events with. And we're excited with to get started with Jaron. And, it was always going to take time in the US. We were, coming over from the UK. It's only been 6 years, I think, since we really kicked off properly. It's not a long time. When you go in against promotional giants, the likes of Top Rank, who have been around for 60 years, Bob's been around. So it was always going to take time to build, but I feel like we're in a position now, and we have been for a long time. Look, we broke the stadium record for boxing in America with Canelo Alvarez against Billy Joe Saunders. Now, we've done amazing things with American boxing, and we'll continue to do so. And there's always going to be competition, and competition's great, but I feel like we're in a good position now.
Moving forwards with Jaron then, you said obviously, you've signed him. What is your plan for him? And we talk about long-term, we talk about, really building his career, a solid foundation, which he's already got. He's putting his trust in your hands to now make him that superstar. He already is, but with a bit more glitz and glamour. What's your plan with Jaron?
I think, when it comes to boxing, the fighting is always the most important. Go in there, deliver performances, keep momentum, build momentum. It's the same with every fighter. But he's got something outside of the ring that you can sell upon. You only have to look at his image. You only have to look at him as a character. He talks very well. And not every fighter's got that. He has the full package. But we need to now deliver it for him. So it all starts with fights, keeping him active in the right fights, putting him in the biggest possible fights out there, and then building him outside of the ring as well. And that's what our job is to do.
With any of your US fighters, are you intending to bring them over for some potential UK debuts? I know it's lovely to see you guys travel around the country, but for the boxing fans that would love to come out and see a Jaron Ennis, a Subro Matthias, any of your other American signings, are you planning to put them on some of our English shows? Because I do believe they'd get an absolutely fantastic reception.
Yeah, look, it's tough with the markets, different markets in terms of financially making it work as well. The US boxing market is different to the UK boxing market. But we've done it in the past, like at an earlier stage in fighters' careers, like Diego Pacheco came and headlined here. Yeah, fighters have gone to the US as well. So we'll always, I think, at the stage of their career they're in, honestly, unless it's a super fight, it's going to be difficult because their core market, Jaron Ennis' core market, will be in the US. That's where we need to build him as well. So it's hard to build him to where we think he can get to if he's not fighting there. But, if the right opportunity arises, 1,000,000%.
I'd like to touch on briefly, obviously, the purse bid fell through yesterday, short notice. Statement put out by Hennessy in relation to Isaac Chamberlain versus Chev Clarke. Obviously, Isaac said, his team said that he's going for European glory. There's now options for Chev, and a few people have commented on my Twitter, because I shared some bits from the conversations that came out yesterday, that maybe, I think you had an interview with IFL, Andrew McCart, where you said there's now options for Chev. Would Chev be in a position to go on that European trail and possibly meet Isaac there for the EBU?
Yeah, possibly. Look, right now our focus is the British title. Chev wants to win the British title, and I think we'll see news very soon about that, hopefully. Our job is to deliver the best possible opportunity for Chev Clarke, not to worry about anyone else and what they're doing. And look, I don't think, I'm not saying he ducks Chev Clarke, because Ceslac's a very hard fight, if that's the route they're going to go down. I think it's just more the way it's done. You just do it earlier rather than the day of the first bid, because you're holding up someone else's career. And again, like, they do whatever's best for Isaac Chamberlain, but it doesn't necessarily mean what's best for Chev Clarke. We got to focus on him. So like I say, Ceslac's a very tough fight. I'm not saying but I don't understand the decision if we were representing Isaac Chamberlain, because Isaac Chamberlain, I think, would have made a lot more money to fight Chev Clarke in that first bid. But that is what it is. We can go about it all day. People say that we, go on about things. So I kind of just want to. It's more about how it's handled, because we will always make decisions. We will make decisions for our fighters that don't necessarily tally up with what other fighters are doing. But it's just about doing it in the right manner. That's all it is.
This fight, Gill versus Barrett, a homecoming for both. I don't think people realise what's at stake here when you think about these two, where they are in their career, their experiences. What are the plans for the fighter? And I'm going to say the fighter that may not win the fight. When you look at career plans, when you look at, obviously, the money makers, the fighters that you want to represent Matchroom, what happens to the loser, Frank?
Yeah, but I've been very open about talking about this around winners, losers. There's been so much pressure over the years on being a winner, right? Which, of course, I'm not an athlete, I understand, but I understand that you want to win. And I understand from a financial standpoint, if you win, it's better for you. But if you take real fights and you give it a go, right? You go into real fights and you make people care about you, there's so many more opportunities. And a few that I've shouted out, like the likes of Sonny Edwards, for example. Sonny Edwards did not win that night, but I feel like he came out with more fans that night than when he went in, because he showed a lot of heart. He went into a proper fight and he put it all in, left it all in the ring. So as much as everyone wants to win in life and every fighter wants to win, I think that's actually what's been to the detriment of boxing in comparison to the likes of UFC over the last few years, is they've made real fights and fighters have lost in it. But people will always want to see you come back. Derek Chisora is another example I always talk about. He's had 12 losses, 10 losses. I love Derek Chisora to bits. But he's always in that mix for fights, because he's entertaining outside the ring. And when he gets in the ring, he leaves everything in the ring. That's what people want to see. People want us to be entertained. So respect to both Jordan and Zelfa, because it's not a fight they necessarily had to take. But it really does elevate the winner into going into a position to challenge for a world title latter part of this year. And the loser will get other fights, because maybe this is a fight that historically wouldn't have happened. But we all know how big domestic fights feel, rather than Jordan Gill fighting someone no one's ever heard of. Same with the Michael Conlon fight. It builds a bit of interest. And, you could have fought an international name that no one's really heard of, and everyone would be like, well, but I think that's where the sport has to improve. And again, it's easy for me to say, I'm not an athlete, I'm not a fighter, but going into real fights and getting paid for the fights as well that people want to see.
And finally, just the 5v5, where everyone knows that the press conference is shortly upon us. Eddie Hearn mentioned, a possible female bout on the card for the British side of it, a leg that's going to happen later on in the year. Moving forward, you think, with the women's sport on the side of Saudi, that sometimes comes with that controversial, can women do this, etc.?
Yeah, look, I think, was it the Bellator event that Clarissa Shields recently fought in Saudi, I think? I think she was out there, I think, off the top of my head. I think, it's the 5v5, obviously we haven't spoken about who's on there yet, but I think there's definitely opportunity in the future. So let's see how things play out. But, I'm quite sure that, Clarissa Shields was out there for that event recently. I think they did a Bellator v. There was another organisation, PFL. Yeah, they fought each other. So yeah, I think moving forward there'll be opportunities for sure.
Yeah, the only reason why I ask is obviously traditionally we've only had like male fights on the cards. When it comes to the, I know it was a different organisation. It's about the general entertainment. With Turki Al Sheikh, it's like what's his presence on obviously the women in the sport.
Yeah, I think as Eddie said, let's see if there's this 5v5 in the UK later this year, and I'm sure we'll get female fighters across there.
Looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Good to see you in the flesh. Go and have a nap on stage now that I've talked you to death. Until the next time, thank you so much, Frank Smith.
Nice to see you.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.